We are doing 6.5, which is multiplying linear inequalities. And there is something that's pretty important or significant with this that I did briefly mention yesterday, but we'll go through it with a bit more detail today. This we've kind of already been practicing. We've done lots of questions like this where we had an equal to sign. So the only difference is that now I have negative 6x is less than 36. You tell me, what would I do in order to isolate the x and get it by itself? Yeah. Good. So we want to divide both sides by negative 6. That's our first move, right? And I'm just writing out every single step so you understand what's happening. The reason we do that is to get rid of it on the left. That leaves us with x. And on the right, we know, what's 36 divided by negative 6? Negative 6, right? And then the key thing is when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative, our sign actually flips over. That is very important. Can you see the potential? I feel like I see this a lot where people forget that. And that's going to make a world of a difference because think about on a number line, it completely flips what our answer is going to be. Because if we look at this, let's say I have a number at negative 6. I put an open circle there. According to this solution, do I draw an arrow to the right or to the left? Right or left? If x is greater than negative 6, we go to the right. Everybody good with that? But if I had forgotten to flip the sign, I would have drawn my solution the other way, which is completely wrong. It's the opposite of what the answer is. So do you see the importance of that? I really want to stress that. Make sure you know if we divide or multiply by a negative, we flip the sign. Good? That's the key, most important thing, I guess, for today's lesson. But you know how this works. We can make it a little more complicated. Again, this is looking like stuff we've done before, but now we have more than one step to work with. So let's go through this step by step. If our whole goal is to get x by itself, what's my first move? What do I want to do or get rid of first? Snoop? Multiply both sides by 3. Everybody good with that? Let's go with 3 to start with. Good? The reason we did it is to get rid of it here. So we now have negative 2x is less than or equal to 6 times 3, which is 18. So far, so good? What's our next move? We want x by itself. So what do I do next? Let's get someone who hasn't answered yet. We'll try, but I'm not going to make you. I won't call on your name if you haven't volunteered. So no one knew. Hiva, you want to take it away? Divide both sides by negative 2. Everybody good with that? And you see the pattern? We're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. The reason we did that is to get rid of this. And so what do I want to be sure that I do? On the right side, what do I get? 18 divided by negative 2. Negative 9. And what happens to my sign here? We flip it, so it's actually x is greater than or equal to negative 9. So on a number line, let's say I draw a negative 9 there. Do I color it in? It says greater than and or equal to, so I do color it in this time. So again, I'm drawing your attention to the nitpicky details. I colored it in because it has the equal to symbol at the bottom as well. If it only had greater than, then I would leave it hollow or open. And if it's greater than, then I know I go to the right here. Questions? Okay, let's go through this one. Ooh, this is why I've gone through it. It's a little bit ugly, the way that we have to deal with this. What do we need to do to get x by itself? Okay, we can do that, but then we're going to go around in a little bit of a circle. Sure, we can do that. Okay, let's do this. Multiply by 4 and multiply this by 4. So this will be gone. So we're going to have negative 1 on the right. Does everybody agree with that and understand how we got that? What do we have on the left? Negative 12x. We want just x. So what should I do next? Yeah. Excellent. We want to divide by negative 12, and we want to make sure we do that on both sides. And we did that to get rid of it here. So far, so good. I feel like this is just huge. So we have x. We divided by negative, so the sign becomes not greater than, but less than. So we flip it around. And what do we get on the right side? What's the best way for me to give that answer? It's just positive 1 over 12. So x is less than 1 over 12. So that's going to be our answer, which this time happened to work out as a fraction, but we would leave it as a fraction. Good? We're okay? So the main idea with this, the new concept, is when we're multiplying or dividing by a negative, we flip the sign. Everything else about it is the same as what we've been doing all along. How about if we have a more complex fraction? We have this going on. We want x by itself. What is my first move with this? What do we get rid of first? Multiply by 4 on both sides. So we multiply this by 4. That's gone. We have 12 minus 2x is less than. Here we have negative 8. So far, so good? What move comes next? We want x by itself. What do we get rid of next? Yeah, we leave the part stuck with the x till the end. We get rid of the 12, and how do I get rid of the 12? Subtracting it on both sides. So that's going to get rid of it here. So then negative 2x is less than, what is negative 8 minus 12? Negative 20. Everybody good with that? What's the next move? We want x by itself. Divide both sides by negative 2. That's going to get rid of it here. So after all that, x is, we divided by a negative. So do you see that this is going to flip? Greater than 10. So that's what we would get as our answer. I've stopped graphing them on a number line because at this point, am I right that you know how to do that? Okay, so I'm going to leave that up to you. But this is what we would get after simplifying this. So here's the nice thing about it. Have you picked up on that pattern? Each day we basically learn 1 or 2 new skills. The rest of it is all the same as the other stuff we've been doing. And we attach it on to previous knowledge that we already know. So far so good? Oh, you know how this goes. It's actually not harder, but it looks like it because there's way more stuff happening. So here is my suggestion. When you see something that looks insane like this, there's a whole bunch of x's, there's brackets, there's lots of stuff going on. Live in denial and just ignore half of it. If we just looked at the left side, you know, if even that is scaring you a little bit, you could take it a step further and say, okay, I'm going to even ignore part of the left side. Do we all know what to do with this? So see how we used to practice this without any equal to sign or anything? We just learned how to get rid of brackets. What would I need to do to get rid of brackets here? Yeah. Pardon? We distribute the negative 3. Good. So here, I'd get negative 3x. And I'm just sort of flying through this because we have done this before several times. And then negative 3 times 7, so we'd get negative 21. We dealt with this part. Is everybody good with that so far? So then here's the thing. You can live in denial temporarily, but you got to bring back the other stuff that you were ignoring. This is true of everything in life. So we have minus 5x, and then maybe, no, I'm still going to just ignore the right side of the inequality. What can I do here? We're not quite done with this yet. What can I do to make life easier with this? Yeah. Good. Combine these like terms. So what do we get? How many x's do we have when we put those together? Negative 8x minus 21. So we just took the entire left side and dealt with it, but now I need to bring back this other part that I was ignoring. So 4x minus 9. Everybody good with that so far? So we're taking a little step-by-step approach so that it doesn't feel like it's such a big deal, because when you look at that, it's pretty ugly when you look at the whole thing. But if you go through it bit by bit, all of a sudden it's just a bunch of little questions we've been doing for a while. Okay, it still has a lot going on. So what do you think would be a smart next move here? Because remember, the goal is always to make things easier for ourselves. So what's going to make life easier? Yeah. Add 21 to both sides. Yep, we have options of how we could go through that, and that is a good option. So we would have negative 8x is greater than 4x. What is negative 9 plus 21? Or you could look at it the other way around. What's 21 minus 9? 12, everybody agree? Plus 12? We're going to have plus 12 at the end. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, we still have some other stuff to do. What would come next? What's a good next move? Yep. Subtract 4x on both sides. Sure, let's do that to get rid of this. So we have, what is negative 8x minus 4x? Negative 12x. And over here, we just had the plus 12 left. Right? Which move comes next? Divide both sides by negative 12, which is going to get rid of this. So after all that work, x is less than, because we flipped the sign, negative 1. I'm going to assume you all know how to graph that, so we're not going to spend the time to graph it, but do we all get how to do that? Good? Okay. We've seen stuff like this before. What do we do with this? If we're still dealing with an inequality here, but we want to get rid of this. 0.1. We want to do something that's going to make our lives easier. Yeah. Multiply everything by, well, do you see here we have 2 decimal places? So that's how we know that we need to multiply by 100, because multiplying by 10 isn't going to be enough for that 0.04. Remember this from a few lessons ago? So when I'm gonna get rid of that for a sec. What do we get when I distribute this here? What's 100 times this? 30x. Much easier to work with, right? And then let's do this one. 100 times this here would be what? Minus 4. We don't need to change the sign. And 100 times this would give us what? Greater than or equal to? What's that? 10. Good? So all of a sudden this is looking much nicer to work with. What's our next move here? We've been doing this for a while now. Add 4 to both sides. That gets rid of it here. I'm trying to show you good habits of showing your work. So we have 30x is greater than or equal to 14. What do I do next? Divide by 30. Divide both sides by 30, which will get rid of it here. So it's not the nicest, cleanest answer, but it works. But we can actually make this a bit nicer. We don't want to leave it as 14 over 30. What could we do to that? 7 over 15, so we can reduce the fraction. I'm pretty good with that. We see that 2 goes into there and 2 goes into there. when that happens with a fraction, we know that we can use that to reduce it. Good? I'm checking to see if there's more, but I think that we are good, and I'm getting the sense that we're pretty okay with understanding that. So we're going to do numbers 2 to 5. I'd like for you to do all the odd letters, or the left side. I think it's set up in rows like that. And then numbers 6 to 8, you can do all of them because they're word problems.